So Sandbox is one of the biggest gaming and metaverse projects out there right now, but most people know absolutely nothing about the Sandbox ecosystem. Their native token Sand is on so many big influences crypto lists, but very few people know exactly what it does or even how the tokenomics are structured. And once again, like so many other cryptocurrency tokens that are broken down here on this channel, most of these results are random Sandbox price predictions with arrows pointing up to the moon and valuations up to $125 billion in the next 6 months, which is just ludicrous. So over the last couple of days I dove deep past all this hype and hopium and into the facts, immersing myself deep into the Sandbox team interviews, the 44-page Sandbox white paper, testing the game and marketplace myself, and most importantly, understanding exactly how their tokenomics structure works. Also, you don't have to. And what I found was really interesting. So if you appreciate my work, please hit that like button below, put on your metaverse cap and let's jump straight in. So strangely enough, unlike most crypto projects, Sandbox was released in 2012. This means that it actually predates Ethereum itself, the blockchain it's currently based on. Now obviously things were a lot different back then. Not only was it originally a two-dimensional blockchain, unlike the 3 dimensions it's got now, it also never intended to become a blockchain-based game. But nonetheless, in its 2D form it attracted over 40 million downloads on iOS and Android. So with that really strong foundation, Sandbox relaunched in 2018 to become the metaverse Sandbox style game that we know today. Now I'm not sure if you're aware, cause I definitely wasn't, but the name Sandbox actually refers to the style of game that Sandbox is. It's like if you developed a gun game and you called it first-person shooter. It's the style of play is also the name of the game. And the Sandbox style game has minimal character limitations placed on the gamer, allowing the gamer to roam and change a virtual world at will. Essentially one of those open world games that let you run around and do whatever it is that you want. Now the most exciting thing about this style of game is its insane popularity. In fact, the 2 best-selling games of all time are, you guessed it, Sandbox style games. That being Minecraft and GTA 5. So one thing is for sure, the demand for this Sandbox game is definitely there. I mean, Minecraft alone at the time of recording this video has 120 million monthly active users. But that brings us to the question of what does this Sandbox blockchain game actually bring to the table? Well, Sandbox themselves take this question very seriously. Not only do they currently have 200 employees, but they said they're going to be employing hundreds more people by the end of this year, and all these people are going to be aligning to try and recreate a Roblox cross-Minecraft style game but with blockchain capabilities. Because unlike in Minecraft, Sandbox will be decentralizing the player-owned game assets inside of its metaverse. Their mission is to build a system where creators will be able to craft, play, share and trade without central control, enjoying secure copyright ownership with the ability to earn sand, that is the ability to earn real money while playing. So what does this look like in action? Well, just like Minecraft, Sandbox is set up in a Vauxhall-based metaphor. You can think of a Vauxhall as essentially a 3D pixel. When you look at the bird's eye view of the Sandbox map, it's 408 lanes wide by 408 lanes tall, giving a grand total of about 166,000 plots of land. Of course, each of these individual plots of land have their own individual NFTs that can be bought, sold, and traded by the players. In fact, at the time I'm recording this video, these lands are trading on OpenSea, the secondary marketplace for NFTs, for just under 1 Ethereum. On each of these plots of land, if you own them, you can build and decorate them with whatever you want. You can probably relate to this sort of structure by picturing the internet being the backbone of the websites, where you can buy a website domain name, and on there you can put whatever you want, whether that's an online browser game, whether that's a blog post or even an Ecom store. Well, it's the same thing with Sandbox. Sandbox is the backbone, and you buy a piece of land. of them, and you can decorate and build whatever you want on top of that. Now what do you actually decorate with? Where you decorate with something called assets. This is another type of NFT that is available in the Sandbox game. And the cool thing about these assets are most of them are created and generated and published by other creators and players in the Sandbox ecosystem. I'll teach you exactly how a little bit later in this video, but as I've never played Minecraft or Roblox before, I had no idea what you would actually put on a block of land that's worth any value. So I did a little bit of digging and basically found that anything that's fun or a good experience in the normal world, real life, you could basically replicate inside one of these metaverse worlds like Sandbox. You could create a game like Crossy Roads where players who are playing the Sandbox game can come to your land and try and get through your obstacle course. You could host a trivia game show where people compete for awards. You could build off soccer stadium to host player versus player tournaments, or even build a social hub, a gallery, or maybe even a casino. Sandbox also have a feature that allows you to directly import your Minecraft builds into Sandbox, so anyone who spent a lot of time or years building these awesome things over there on Minecraft can import them straight into play their own version of Minecraft. And in the future, players will also be able to combine lands together to form estates, and the states will have the potential to be owned by multiple players to form districts. This will create more opportunities for landowners by combining their creativity and work. A really good example of this is 9 neighbors who all have one plot of land each. Combine these together to form an estate, and you can turn this estate into some form of awesome theme park where each of the 9 individual plots of land are owned by each individual owner, and they build one ride or one experience on their plot of land. This is a really cool way of pulling resources, work and value. So you could sell one ticket in the native sand token to the entire theme park, and you can automatically split this revenue 9 different ways according to whatever smart contract is created. So how do you actually go about exploring this metaverse? Well, like all good games, you have your own personal identity and avatar that runs around in this game exploring the world. But unlike in normal games, your avatar is actually made up of various individual assets like your helmet or your arms, your torso, your legs, and these are all their own individual NFTs. Which of course means they're actually owned by you, can be created by other players, and you can buy, sell, and trade them for money. Remember, this is the main difference between something like Sandbox Minecraft, and it's basically the technology that Sandbox are betting on to help them win in the long term. Sandbox do this by implementing interesting and nuanced gameplay mechanics by assigning predefined behaviors to the assets through visual scripting nodes. Now what does this actually mean? Basically, when you build up an asset like this, you can put different characteristics and powers into them to determine their rarity and their actual function in the game. And of course you can't just go make any asset as rare as possible, this is going to cost you in their native sand token. Okay, so the land and the avatars both use the user-generated asset economy to customize their looks and function. But this sounds super complicated, and it's going to be really hard to build up these in-game assets, and there's going to be no way that the normal person without coding or graphic design or software experience is going to be able to go create these in-game assets, let alone have them be sold and bought by players of the game. Well, Sandbox also have really good news here. Just like it was really hard to build an e-commerce store before Shopify came along, Shopify existed to give you all the tools and resources and themes and packs to download and integrate without you having to know all the code or any crazy language. Well, Sandbox basically have this before making in-game Vauxhall Acid, because their CTO said the main reason that their world is based on Vauxhalls is because you don't have to be a visual artist or game developer to create these assets. All you basically need to do is paint it pixel by pixel on their voxel editor. If you know how to build Legos, you're gonna know how to build in-game assets on their box editor. They also have the ability for you to animate these so you can create movement and purpose that can be integrated into any land and any experience that you have in the Sandbox, once again with no coding or animation experience needed. pretty cool. And of course Sandbox comes with their built-in native NFT marketplace, where you can buy and sell these assets, and of course, because these assets are NFT, you can buy and sell them on any secondary marketplace like OpenSea. Now eventually the plan is that all creators that are building in their Vox edit and animation suites are gonna be able to publish their creations into this market. The rumor is this is gonna happen as soon as they migrate over from the Ethereum to the Polygon chain. But at the moment the function unfortunately is only available for approved creators. And right now these approved creators are pretty big time brands. People like Snoop Dogg, World of Women, or even the Smurfs. Now the really cool thing is because these things are NFTs, they can also have additional perks built into the smart contract. For example, if you own one of these Snoop Dogg's 10,000 avatars called the Doggies, you get access to private metaverse parties and experiences that aren't available to anybody else. And talking about Snoop Dogg, one thing that Sandbox are phenomenal at, probably the best in the industry right now, is creating partnerships and brand deals with big time brands and celebrities. They work with big time brands like